On today's episode, we're going to be doing the 5 to 4 lug conversion. The 2000 Black DX came with 5 lug already. I've already ordered the wheels, the brake kit and all that. So I'm going to be converting this car to 4 lug from the 5. We're going to need all those parts except the hubs. I'm going to show you how to do that. So on 92 to 00 Civics, you're going to have the exact same trailing arm. The trailing arm is going to be the same bushing size throughout. The only difference is the drum has a different receiver. So this male receiving end for the hub is going to be different. This is the most important piece we need out of it. So that's why we grabbed the whole trailing arm setup. We need it for this piece here. So this is in particular is a 5 lug version. So it has the ability to bolt on rear calipers, but it also needs a 5 lug hub. But I'm going to show you how to use a 4 lug hub on this. So if we look at this male receiving end, you'll notice that, you may not notice, but this is longer on a 5 lug. You can use a 4 lug one of these, but you're going to need the honed performance nut kit to allow you to bolt on a longer hub. But we're doing the exact opposite. So if we use a 5 lug receiver and a 4 lug hub, you're going to notice something weird happen here. So we'll put this in, and it looks fine. So if you proceeded normally and installed this, it looks like it would work. But there is actually an issue there. So what's happening is when you put this down, it stops short. So it stops right on this hip here, on this beveled edge. That stops it. So you actually have quite a bit of play here. As you can see, the hip doesn't line up with the bearing. So when you put this down, it just floats. So you have this much play. So let me show you what we're gonna do. There we have it. The part is machined, all ready to go. We did it on the CNC. So I went and got this washer CNC'd. It's a 10 millimeter. I don't remember the ID and OD, but I could post that probably lower in the video. So we needed a thick spacer, but we needed it to fit perfectly. We're not going to use just any random washer because there's some moving pieces here, so we need it to fit properly. Okay, so let's throw this back on, and then we're going to put our machine spacer in, and I'll show you how that goes on. Perfect fit, and it's very tight. So we'll put that in there, and it becomes a little hard to put in. There we go, it's in. So that will allow this spacer to function properly. So this is going to sit on the hip. And then we'll be able to tighten this 32 mil axle nut on with these. And there we go. Alright, so we are not out of the woods just yet. We're going to run into an issue with the 5 lug receiver. The offset of this is a little bit different than a 4 lug one. If you're trying to run a 4 lug hub, there's a 3 millimeter offset difference front and back. So what we have to do here is we're gonna have to machine these 3mm to make up the difference in the offset. So if you install this as is without machining, the caliper is not going to be centered on here. It's going to be too far to one side. So we need to machine it so the caliper sits further back in. So the caliper would sit further in. You could probably do a workaround for that if you didn't want to machine it. You could put a spacer behind this rotor just like Spoon does with the front when they sell their caliper kit. You could probably use that exact spacer on the back of here and that would fix your offset issue. In the front of this DX we have ITR front spindles. If this came equipped with the original DX spindles, we'd have to get rid of them in favor of EX or SI spindles or these ITR ones. That being because the ears are further apart on ITR SI spindles. The ITR and SI spindles can be had from the junkyard from base model Integra 94 to 2001. SI Civics or EX Civics. They also have the larger brakes, but we need them in order to put an ITR sized brake on. So this being equipped with ITR ones, these ITR calipers fit. Also, the CX, DX, VX has a smaller bearing, so you can't even press this particular bearing in. This is an Integra hub. So the bearing and the hub is from an Integra just because it's a lot easier to deal with. 4-lug, I just know it's all going to be right. Those will press into a 5-lug spindle, no problem. So if we drill this for 4x100, if you wanted to put ITR brakes on your 4-lug, you're going to run into offset issues. It's going to be 3mm inward because this hub is too far in, so it would require a spacer behind this in order to be centered with this, because this is going to remain stationary, but this hub is too far in, so you're going to run into the brake being too far on one side. So what we need to do is put a spoon spacer. You can get the spacer, a 3mm spacer, put it on here, and then you can drill these and install them. I'm going with the ASR kit. So the ASR kit will come equipped with the correct offset, or it'll have a shim or spacer in there. Just a fact for you, if you needed to remove this race, it's fairly simple. All you do is take a disc, a cutoff disc, just put an angled slice in it, and then throw a chisel in there and hammer it, and these things crack. They crack and they fall off. It's better than applying heat or whatever. They're very simple to take off. They take actually like a minute or two if you know what you're doing. But this offset would be out like this, 3mm. We're coming into a time that it's becoming really hard to source this brake conversion or these spindles or the rear disc. One other option is the 4x1143 ITR spindles and hub. That's another way to get a 5-lug going on your car because they're going to share the same spindles front and back. The only thing you'll need to do is just grab some hubs from Rock Auto for an Integra or 5-lug hubs, and then you should be able to do your disc conversion that you need to. So why do people charge so much for 5-lug conversion kits? One is scarcity. The front calipers aren't really worth much. I believe that they're the same part number as the CRV, but the rears are a 10.3 rotor, so they're bigger than the EG6, they're bigger than the SIR. 10.3 is a fairly bigger upgrade for the rear. The caliper size is almost the same. They're both single piston, but they sit further out, so they do provide more leverage. So that's one cool thing, one benefit of getting the Type R rear disc. The rear rotor, if you're planning on doing 4x100 using these, you need to use an EP3 rear, EP3 non-Type R rear rotor. It's direct bolt-on. It even screws in exactly the same, and they are a 10.3 as well. And then you just slap these on, and it's a direct bolt-on kit. But like I said, you have to go through that process with the rear hub fitment. You're going to need that spacer if you want to do that. That should put a wrap to this video. One other thing I wanted to mention, for the front rotors, there are several options. There's the mini rotors, which you'll need little spacers because the lug holes are a lot different. There's also the spoon rotor option where they're pre-drilled for 4x100. And lastly, MDP&U company has introduced a two-piece rotor that's made to fit without a shim. That's a great option as well. It's kind of pricey, but if it's a direct bolt-in, you don't have to worry about shims and spacers that warp and cause vibrations and all these kind of things. That'd be a great option too. I'm almost getting ready to fire this car back up. I'm still waiting on my valve cover from Charlie. The brake kit from ASR hasn't even been shipped yet. I got the rear brace and lower control arms on Boxing Day, but they haven't shipped out yet, so the project's on a little bit of a hold. I'm probably going to pull out the header and polish it out. Other than that, it looks like it's ready to fire. Also, I do want to mention this radiator. Alright, so I opted to remove the aluminum radiator to go with a brand new unit from Koyo. This is a 1-inch thick radiator. You'll see what the original one kind of looks like. It looks like it's almost half the thickness. This is an all black unit, which is super cool. Plastic end tanks. It's got the larger ends for the B series. You shouldn't be running the smaller ported one. I opted also to go back to OEM hoses. These are discontinued. They did cost quite a bit. Importing them from Japan for 200 USD. Also replaced the clamps with self-tensioning ones. You always want to use those when hoses swell and move around. These have the ability to adjust themselves without tearing the hoses, and they look pretty sweet. So I got the OEM look, but we got a thicker radiator, and it's black. So this setup will look pretty cool once we get the valve cover in and the box finished. So let's put an end to that video there. I'm gonna wait on those parts. Hopefully I can get you guys another update within a week. If those brakes and rear brace don't come in, I'm gonna be working on other stuff regardless. Maybe get this car started up. The DC2 airbox is coming along. It's a little bit hard to fit, but we're making it work. So I'll see you guys on the next one.